You check your phone, no reply. You check it again, still nothing. Your chest tightens, your stomach drops. It feels physical. It feels like an injury. But you weren't touched. You weren't hit. So why does it hurt this much? Here's the strange part. Your brain can't actually tell the difference. Neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger put people inside an fMRI scanner and had them play a simple ball-tossing game with two other players, except the other players weren't real. They were programmed to slowly stop passing the ball. Just leave the person out. Watching from the outside, it looked like nothing, no danger, no threat, just silence. But inside the scanner, something lit up. The same region that fires when your body feels physical pain. The anterior cingulate cortex. The exact same circuitry that activates when you burn your hand or break a bone, switched on when people were simply excluded from a game with strangers they'd never even met. Your brain built rejection out of the same wiring as injury. Why would evolution do that? Because for most of human history, being cast out wasn't just uncomfortable, it was a death sentence. Your ancestors didn't survive alone. No single human could outrun a predator, defend against a raid, or gather enough food through a long winter by themselves. Survival meant staying inside the group. Losing your place in it wasn't a social inconvenience, it was a countdown. So your brain evolved an alarm system, and it borrowed the loudest one it already had: physical pain. If exclusion felt as urgent as a wound, you'd fight to fix it immediately. You'd apologize faster. You'd repair the bond. You'd do whatever it took to get back inside the circle. That alarm never got the memo that things changed. Psychologist Kipling Williams spent decades studying this exact reaction, and he gave it a name: ostracism. He found that even brief exclusion, even from people you don't like, even in a game you know is rigged, triggers the same drop in mood, the same spike in distress. It doesn't matter if the rejection is real or trivial. Your nervous system responds as if your life depends on the outcome, because for most of your evolutionary history, it did. So when someone leaves you on red, when a friend group makes plans without you, when a text goes unanswered for hours, your brain isn't overreacting. It's running the oldest program it has. There's a study that makes this even stranger. Psychologist C. Nathan DeWall gave people a common over-the-counter pain reliever, the kind you'd take for a headache, and then measured their response to social rejection over several weeks. The people on the pain reliever reported less emotional hurt from being excluded, less activity in that same pain region of the brain. A pill built for a stubbed toe was dulling the sting of being ignored. Think about that for a second. Rejection isn't just like pain. Somewhere in your skull, it partly is pain. This explains something you've probably felt but never had words for. Why an unanswered message can sit in your chest for hours. Why being the last one picked, even as an adult, even for something meaningless, still stings in a way that feels disproportionate. Why silence, actual silence, no words at all, can feel louder than an insult. You're not being dramatic, you're being human. Think about how differently you treat a bruise versus a slight. If you hurt your leg, you rest it. You give it time. You don't tell yourself to just get over it in 5 minutes. But when someone hurts you socially, you're expected to shrug it off immediately, laugh it off, move on like nothing happened. Your brain never got that memo. It's still logging the injury the same way it logs a sprained ankle, and it wants the same thing an ankle wants: time, space, care. There's a reason certain phrases in everyday language aren't just metaphors. Hurt feelings, a broken heart, wounded pride. You didn't invent that language by accident. Entire cultures across entire centuries independently landed on the same words for emotional pain that they use for physical injury. That's not poetic coincidence. That's your species describing what it actually feels, using the only vocabulary precise enough to capture it. But here's where it gets even more interesting. This isn't only about avoiding pain, it's about protecting your place. Neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman studied this connection for years and found that the brain treats social belonging as a core survival need, ranked right alongside food and safety. Not a luxury, not an emotional extra, a biological requirement wired in from the start. That's why isolation doesn't just make you sad, it makes you vigilant. Studies on chronic loneliness show something almost paradoxical. Lonely people become more sensitive to social threat, not less. They start scanning faces for signs of rejection before it even happens. Your ancestors who felt that itch, who noticed the earliest signs of being pushed out, had time to act. They could mend the relationship, prove their value, close the gap before the group left them behind for good. The ones who didn't feel it, who stayed oblivious, often didn't get a second chance. So the ache you feel isn't a malfunction. It's a warning system, doing exactly what it was built to do, just aimed at a modern world that moves too fast for it to keep up. Consider how different your daily life is from theirs. Your ancestors lived in groups of maybe 50, maybe 150 people, and they knew every single one by face, by voice, by history. Every relationship mattered because every relationship was rare and irreplaceable. You, on the other hand, might have hundreds of contacts, dozens of group chats, a feed full of people you've never actually met. Your brain still runs the old math. Every one of those connections registers as a potential member of your tribe, and every silence from any of them can quietly trip the same alarm that used to mean something far more dangerous. That's part of why modern life can feel so exhausting in a way your ancestors never had to deal with. Not because the stakes are higher, because the alarm fires constantly for things that were never actually threats to begin with. Because now the threats are smaller, a read receipt, a slow reply, a joke that didn't land in the group chat. None of these will actually get you exiled from your tribe. None of these will leave you alone against the winter. But your brain doesn't know the difference between a missed text and a missed hunting party. It responds to both with the same ancient alert. Once you know that, something shifts. The hurt doesn't disappear, but it makes sense. You're not broken for feeling wounded by silence. You're carrying a survival system so effective it kept your entire lineage alive long enough to reach you. The next time your chest tightens over an unanswered message, you'll know what's actually happening. Somewhere deep in your skull, an alarm built for the savannah is going off in a world of glass screens and typing bubbles. It's not confused, and it's still trying, in the only language it knows, to keep you inside the circle. Tonight, when you check your phone one more time before you finally close it, you'll feel that familiar tightness in your chest. And now you'll know exactly what it is.